Hello, college sports superfans. It's the third Saturday in October, one of the best rivalries in all of college football, and Knoxville, Tennessee is going to be going pretty crazy. Let's just jump right into this one. What has happened to Tennessee's offense? They went from scoring 69 points, then 51 points, then 71 points in their first three games to then 25 points, 14 points, and then 23 points in their next three games. Abysmal offensive turnaround, and I think a big reason why is because the competition is much tougher. That's the simple explanation. Obviously, NC State has not had the season that many of us thought that the Wolfpack were going to have. And then the other two teams Tennessee played were, of course, borderline high school teams in Chattanooga and Kent State. So once they played Oklahoma, that was a telltale sign that the competition they were playing is serious and the offense is struggling mightily. But the good news is they've won two out of those three games, and the defense has been elite. And this might be the best defense that Josh Heupel has ever fielded at Tennessee. Actually, very, very likely the fact that this is the best defense that Josh Heupel has ever had at Tennessee. But let's start with the Volunteers offense first. Freshman quarterback Nico Yamalieva has 1,219 yards on a 65% completion percentage with 7 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. He also has 135 yards rushing and a touchdown, but he has 3 fumbles. So if you add that up in total, he has 8 total scores, but 6 total turnovers, which is not very good. I will say that's not a good score to turnover ratio. So Nico, at minimum, if he's not going to score a whole lot, he has to find ways to not turn the ball over and keep an eye on where his blind side is, because a lot of times he's been getting hit in the pocket and losing that football that way. Dylan Sampson, though, on the other hand, has been a superstar running back. Listen to this here: 699 yards, 5.9 yards per carry, and 15 touchdowns. 15 rushing touchdowns just halfway through the season. Do you want to know what the Tennessee record is for rushing touchdowns in a season? 18. So Dylan Sampson, just halfway through this season, is just 3 touchdowns away from tying the all time single season rushing touchdowns record for Tennessee. I got a pretty good feeling he's going to break that record, maybe even hit 20 rushing touchdowns as long as he stays healthy this season, and may end up winning the Doak Walker Award. Of course, he's got some tough competition with that Boise State running back, Ashton Genty, who may be winning the Heisman Trophy as well. At receiver, Tennessee's got a lot of really good receivers. They have Dante Thornton, who's got 295 yards and 3 touchdowns. Definitely a big play guy. But other receivers such as Squirrel White and Brew McCoy have been active in the receptions. They just don't have the touchdown numbers. Nico has done a good job spreading the ball around, and they've been getting the tight ends involved. But on defense, for once for Tennessee under Josh Heupel, it's the defense that's been the superstars there. Listen to this here: Josh Josephs on the defensive line, 20 tackles, 4.5 tackles for a loss, and 2 fumble recoveries. James Pierce, who was a big time star coming into the season, had a little bit of a slow start, but he's really picked it up lately. 19 tackles, 4 tackles for a loss, 2 sacks, and a fumble recovery. And I think he's worked his way back into the top end of the first round when he was starting to slide a little bit. Tyree West has 10 tackles with 4 tackles for a loss. And then Omar Norman Lott has 10 tackles with 2.5 sacks. So this is a very good and very deep defensive line. At linebacker, Arian Carter has 27 tackles, 4.5 tackles for a loss, and an interception. Keenan Peely, who, keep in mind, got injured early in the Florida game. He got injured in the first quarter, and he did not return the rest of the game. So he may not be good to go against Alabama, which would be a huge loss on the Tennessee defense, because Keenan Peely has 29 tackles and 3 quarterback hurries, and he's just been a superstar at linebacker. So if he doesn't play, that'll make a big impact in this game. However, Jeremiah Talander, who really stepped up for Keenan Keenan Peely in that Florida game is the guy kind of right behind him. He's been very good this season as well. He's got 18 tackles and a fumble recovery. And then the secondary, the Tennessee secondary has been a lot better than people thought it was going to be, including myself. I didn't think it was going to be very good this year. Thought the rest of the defense might be pretty good, but the secondary might be weak. But honestly, the secondary has been surprisingly very, very good. Will Brooks has 29 tackles, 3 pass breakups, and a pick six on the year. Boo Carter has 16 tackles. Andre Turrentine has 18 tackles. And Jermod McCoy has 16 tackles, 3 pass breakups, and an interception himself. But now let's transition to Alabama. Kalen DeBoer, the new head coach coming over from Washington. He's been a winner everywhere he's been. He's been one of the best head coaches in all of college football. And he had an elite quarterback coming in. And Jalen Milroe certainly has been a superstar. And I wanted to say this point real quick before we get to Milroe, because I know there's a lot of Tennessee fans that are now starting to send a lot of unwarranted hate towards Nico because of his poor play lately, which keep in mind, Nico is just a freshman. But I want to remind people, remember how poorly Jalen Milroe started the season last year for Alabama and how he grew into this superstar that we're seeing him now. I personally believe the same thing is going to happen with Nico. Just give him a little bit of time. Because listen to these numbers from Milroe right here. 1,483 passing yards, a 73% completion percentage, 12 touchdown passes to only 4 interceptions. And then listen to this, 319 rushing yards and 11 rushing touchdowns with only 2 fumbles. So he has been scoring quite a bit, 23 scores and only 6 turnovers. He's been one of the best quarterbacks in the country, no doubt about it. Jam Miller, he's a really great running back there. 360 yards, which is 7.1 yards per carry, with 5 touchdowns, only 1 fumble. He's also got 50 yards receiving and a receiving touchdown. And then Justice Haynes, 249 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's 6.4 yards per carry. So either back you go to, they're picking up a lot of yardage at a very efficient rate. And sure, neither one of them are Dylan Sampson, but this running back room is still pretty deep. At wide receiver, this freshman Ryan Williams is incredible. He makes magic happen every single time he touches the ball. It's so crazy. I still keep thinking about that touchdown he had against Georgia to beat the Bulldogs earlier this season. But he's got 576 yards and 6 touchdowns. Jeremy Bernard, who's a veteran who comes over from the Washington Huskies, DeBoer brought him with him, has 309 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he also has a rushing touchdown on the season. But still, the rest of the receiving core kind of needs to pick it up a little bit, but those are some serious weapons for Milroe. On the D line, Marion Latham has 18 tackles and a fumble recovery. LT Overton has 17 tackles and 5 quarterback hurries and a fumble recovery. Tim Smith has 17 tackles and 3 quarterback hurries. Tim Keenan III has 24 tackles with 4.5 tackles for a loss. So this defensive line has done a really good job getting to opposing quarterbacks, which could be a concern for Tennessee here, especially with Nico dropping the ball every time he gets hit. At linebacker, Deontay Lawson has been a superstar. 50 tackles with 4 tackles for a loss. And Jihad Campbell, same thing. 51 tackles. 30 of those 51 tackles have been solo tackles. He's got 5.5 tackles for a loss and an interception. So that could be one of the best linebacker duos in the entire country that Alabama has. And then Quay Robinson has 19 tackles, 7 tackles for a loss, and 4 sacks. So he's been a superstar as well. And in the secondary for Alabama has been a little bit more questionable for their defense, but they do certainly have their stars. Damani Jackson has 21 tackles, 4 pass breakups, and 2 interceptions. Keon Sabb, who came over from Michigan after winning the national championship, has 37 tackles, 3 pass breakups, and 2 interceptions. Sabb, and only a sophomore, is just an absolute superstar. And Malachi Moore has 36 tackles, 20 of those are solo tackles, 4 pass breakups, and a fumble recovery. So those are both teams, both of them very elite and very exciting teams on offense and defense. Now let's get into some of the history of this great rivalry. It is the third Saturday in October. That's always when this game is played. They've kept it that way all throughout their history. Alabama leads the all-time series 59 to 39 with 7 ties. It used to be a lot closer. Of course, Nick Saban, when he came in, they went on a long winning streak, a 15-game winning streak to be exact. So that's kind of why it looks lopsided. But historically, before Nick Saban, very even series. They first played in 1901 in Birmingham, which was a 6-6 tie. And then Alabama won last year's matchup after Tennessee blew a 20-7 halftime lead. Alabama ended up winning 34-20. But the year before that in Knoxville, Tennessee beat Alabama in one of the greatest games of all time, 52-49, and that snapped a 15-game losing streak. Definitely one of the greatest games of all time, and that was the longest losing streak for either side in the series history. So, what is my prediction here? Is Tennessee going to win it once again in Knoxville, or does Alabama just have too much? Honestly, I'm not super confident about either team. Both teams have really been struggling. Alabama, I was surprised they didn't drop in the poll just like Tennessee did. I'm not opposed to Tennessee dropping after the way they played against Florida. Gosh, Alabama only beat South Carolina by 2 points when they were favored by close to 20 points as well in that game. I mean, come on. Why are they staying at number 7, but Tennessee has to drop to number 11? That doesn't make any sense to me. Alabama's made a lot of mistakes against South Carolina. I think this Alabama Crimson Tide team is really good. Don't get me wrong. I think DeBoer is the perfect coach. He can keep the dynasty going there, but there's just something missing about this team, and I just can't put my finger on it, particularly on offense. Tennessee has a super elite defense. I think possibly besides Georgia, Tennessee might actually be the best defense Alabama has played this season. I think that Tennessee makes this a more low scoring game than people expect at home, and they managed to pull off the minor upset, beating Alabama by 3 points. Yes, you heard me right. Maybe a bit of the fan in me, but I'm saying Tennessee beats Alabama by 3. Alabama heading into this game is favored by 3. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching the College Sports Superfan. I'll have one more video coming out this week. Sorry about the limited amount of content, but I will have some more stuff coming out next week for sure as I get more back on track. But the next game and final game of this week is, of course, the Georgia and Texas game, which will be coming out as well very soon. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like and subscribe.